What's up, guys? Welcome to the Kingdom Men Transformation Nation podcast. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Acquisition CEO. If you have a question about buying or selling a business, hit him up in the link below. And I've got a really good, cool friend of mine on today and a gym bro, Jacob Davis. He owns the nutrition store. A lot of cool stuff we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about man stuff. We're going to talk about gym stuff. We're going to talk about gym bro stuff. We're going to talk about supplements. We're going to talk about being newly married and having businesses and locations and marketing and content. So, Jacob, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh, man. Well, I do a lot of things. You know, you and I had lunch last month. Actually, we went through a little bit of this. I wear a lot of hats. But in summary, I guess what I do, I own and operate the Nutrition Store LLC, and we're a vitamin supplement retailer based in upstate South Carolina with the simple goal, I guess, kind of, boiling it down. My main goal is to change the narrative of the way the supplement industry is viewed. We strive to provide honest recommendations, factual-based recommendations to our customers, and not simply steer them down a path that's going to make us an immediate profit gain from a sale. We try to steer them down a path of trust in us long term and earning that loyalty over time by telling them the truth. So many people come into a store like what I have, and they have the false understanding that they need to buy this test booster, this creatine, this type of pre-workout, this type of pill. And half the time, they're wasting money, right? So our goal is, how can we tell you the truth? Make sure you know that we are trustworthy, and we're going to teach you the right stuff along the way. And that's what we do. So we have 2 locations. In one main one, I guess we call it HQ, Spartanburg, 1398 Bowling Springs Road, and then Greenville, Haywood Road, so 477. But yeah, it's been a fun 6 years so far.
There's a 1398 Bowling Springs Road in Greenville.
Is there?
There is.
Okay.
Because that Saturday I went there.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. So you drove there first?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
I got there. I'm like, I did not think this was down this way, so I was headed the wrong way. But then I was like, I knew my GPS was like heading me in a wrong direction compared to where the store was.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna keep going.
I guess I need to change the business card to say funny. Highway 9, because that's really what it is.
So I thought that was funny because I didn't know, because I rolled up and there's like nothing there. There's a QT and a Sphinx and a few things in a storage unit building, but I laughed to myself. I was like,
"Oh, is that is it up there near Pelham?"
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen that before. I'm like, "Oh, okay. There is another Bowling Springs Road."
There is.
That's crazy.
That was funny. So first off, one of the things, like, you talked a lot about, like, just telling the truth and being honest about supplements, which is one of the things I want to talk about today because. In the gym, in the culture with Instagram and all the things these days, you and I, when we were growing up, or at least when I was growing up, I think I'm a little older, but we had magazines, right? I mean, we were looking at the old school freaking bodybuilding muscle magazines. And so that was a neat era for me to see things in the bodybuilders and the Mr. Olympias and the Ronnie Colemans and the Jay Cutlers and all that kind of stuff before Instagram came around. There really wasn't even a lot of supplements around at that time. I mean, you had some basic stuff. There were mass gainers and there was creatine and glutamine, but there was not anywhere near the amount of supplements we have on the market today.
We call them the legacy brands. Those are the ones that ran the magazines. Like they owned it.
Yeah. It was a marketing thing.
Speaking of the magazines, you met Dusty.
Yeah.
He lives in our area, but I grew up reading his articles in like Flex and Muscular Development.
That's so cool.
And I didn't realize it. I was working out right beside him at Gold's Gym about 2 years ago. And I look over, I'm like, he looks familiar. I start typing, I'm like,
that's the guy.
God. Yeah, I kind of fangirled over him at first. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like, I was reading.
He's a big dude.
Yeah. And a nice dude, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, I grew up reading about him and looking up to him.
Isn't that so cool?
And then becoming friends with him. It's such a cool thing.
So I ran into Lee Haney one time.
No, okay. Yeah.
So I was helping a buddy. I was his wingman for a show. And I forget which one it was, but
probably Upstate Classic.
It wasn't the Upstate Classic. I've ran into Lee at the Upstate Classic.
He's from Spartanburg.
Right. I know him and Dutch were friends.
Yeah.
Danny from up at Biltmore Fitness.
Yeah.
They're all buddies. But we were I think it might have been the Charlotte Cup. We were staying at a hotel, and I get in an elevator, and there's Lee Haney.
Yeah.
And so, like, a lot of people, they don't even know who he is at this point.
Unfortunately.
But
he's a legend.
But that guy, 8-time.
Yeah.
8-time. Is he 7 or 8?
8.
8, yeah.
He's him and Ronnie hold the 8 spot.
That's right.
Yep.
So that guy, I'm standing in the elevator, same thing. I'm like, there's Lee Haney. Lee Haney. And I thought it was so cool. And he was like, hey, man, are you here competing? I was like, no, I'm, just helping some buddies and stuff.
Right.
But it was just so cool. I was like, this is amazing. I took a picture. I got to hang out with him. And then I went to a seminar one time down at, what's the place in Columbia that does all the straps?
Oh, Spud?
Spud Inc.
Yeah.
freaking Stan Efferding came to town one time.
Okay.
And he put on a seminar about the vertical diet and all that kind of stuff.
I love that.
And, it was great.
Yeah.
It was not really expensive either.
Okay.
Really good information and a great guy to be in the room with. But then afterwards, he was like, hey, does anybody want to train? You know, and I'm like, yeah,
absolutely.
I want to work out with Stan Efferding.
Yeah.
And like probably 5 or 6 of us stood around, hung out.
Right.
You know, and I'm standing around like, you're going to get in the room with a guy with so much wisdom and knowledge around lifting and life and nutrition, and y'all are going home.
Yeah.
I don't care if I don't care what I'm staying.
Right.
So it was a cool thing. But things used to be different in the bodybuilding and the fitness space compared to what they are now, especially the supplement space. Like I remember when pre-workout first came out, what it tasted like, what they had
Ultimate Orange. You remember that
Ultimate
one?
Orange, and then like the original Inno Explode.
Yeah. Fluorinated amphetamines all the way.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
It was crazy. Jack 3D.
Yeah, Jack 3D.
One that I was taking at 15 years old. I shouldn't have been taking, but back then, bodybuilding.com, you could buy whatever.
They even had like pro hormones.
Oh, yeah.
You could buy.
Yeah.
There was one called Mass Tabs.
Mm-hmm.
And Mass
dude.
Tabs, I remember, I was like, yeah, let's take those, and they worked.
Yeah, they did. They caused jaundice for a lot of kids too.
Right. Yeah.
Liver failure.
It was a very interesting time in the supplement industry where there was a lot of gray lines. But nowadays things are a lot different, and there's so many marketing ploys out there. And like we were talking about before this, about people wanting to be influencers. And one of the reasons I love doing this and having people like you on is to share like real wisdom, real knowledge. You're a jack dude.
Thanks, man.
You've been at it a long time. You obviously know what you're talking about, right? There's proof in the pudding. That's what I always tell people. Or they're like, you look at the fruit, right? So if you want advice from somebody about being jacked, you go find somebody who's jacked and ask them the truth. Because what a lot of people are doing on the internet is they're selling you something.
Yes.
Whether it's a course or an idea or get your 6-pack in 10 days or take this supplement and get abs or get jacked or whatever it may be. And it's just simply not true. So one of the things I want to talk about is like talking about supplements and marketing and the authenticity that you guys put behind it, because that's one of the things you were talking about, when you were doing your introduction, is how you pride yourself in offering supplements that work, and then also guiding people when they come into the store and they're like, hey man, what do you recommend? Here's what I'm looking for. And they've seen some video on the internet and it's just BS, and you're like, no. You don't even need that. You don't need to spend your money. So you're not selling people stuff. You're adding value.
Yeah.
And knowledge.
It comes down to, what can I give them today that's going to put more up here so that they're armed to improve their own lives down the road. So, most of the time it's, let me see your diet. Like write down what you eat for 3 days. Right. If you're willing to come back and sit down with me, then I might sell you a protein. But half the time I'm more reluctant to sell something to somebody when they first come in.
Sure.
Let's see what your lifestyle looks like. Like what holes can we poke to help you improve yourself? But you're not wrong, man. I mean, the entire industry has made this massive shift towards, since it has become so much more regulated, back before 2012, I want to say, I call it the wild, wild west of the supplement industry, because you could get away with putting, illegal, well, not illegal then, but ingredients in there that actually had a crazy effect on you.
Sure.
Nowadays, it's transitioned to, it's so much more stringent on what we can put in products, from a manufacturing standpoint. Well, let's, as a company, let's fund this research. We'll pay this research's way to hopefully show a benefit in our favor, right? So whether
in our favor is the key.
Well, that's a lot of stuff. I mean, let's take testosterone boosters for example.
Sure.
A big one right now going around TikTok is Shilajit, right? Or Shilajit extract. It's a really cool mossy substance. Comes from Asian mountains or Himalayan mountains, something, and it produces fulvic acid. There's 1 or 2 studies that show a slight increase in testosterone and libido from fulvic acid content. Well, what the industry's done, and these companies that make it, pay these influencers to start talking about it without giving them very good guidelines. So what you're seeing is increase your testosterone, become a Spartan warrior, gain 30 pounds of muscle, all when the study showed a very small effect. Yeah. I'm not arguing that it was effective or not, but I'm saying the extent to which.
Right.
And that's what we see with everything. You take a little bit of positive information and you
blow it up.
Yes.
For sales and marketing scheme. Well, that's so true, not just with supplements in the gym and everything, but even talking about like steroids. We'll talk about all that kind of stuff here in a minute. But you hit on a really important point I want people to take away from this. Show me your refrigerator.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many people do you know? Probably 100 a month that come up to you in the gym and they're like, bro, I want to get jacked. I'm going to come get these supplements. I'm going to order this. Or, I mean, I've even seen people do it. They go to a supplement store. They spend $300 on stuff, and then they don't put in the work in the gym. And then their diet is terrible as far as like, you know, not even necessarily tracking macronutrients and that kind of stuff. But when you ask them, what do you eat? Their answer is, I don't know. Well, same thing like in business coaching. We talk about cash flow and profit margins, and most people don't know their numbers. Yeah. Well, those people are so far uneducated that buying $300 worth of supplements is a waste of money, like you were saying. And so they think that's what's going to get them there because they saw that and were sold that on TikTok or Instagram instead of being sat down and being educated by somebody like yourself and saying, hey, man, tell me what your diet looks like. Like, how much protein you're looking to eat, or how much do you eat? How much you want to weigh? Yeah. Like, what's your current body composition? What's your workouts like? What's your split? You know? And so I just want people to know that, first off, come see you. Right?
Well, thank you.
Because you'll have a good conversation with them and educate them. Because you've been there, you've been down the road, and you live the lifestyle, and you do the things, and you participate in it, you're active in it, and you're full of good information and wisdom and knowledge when it comes to that stuff. But also that what you see on the internet, like you were saying, probably is not true.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they always ask me, well, what supplements do you take? I'm like, I take zinc, magnesium, I take cinnamon, cayenne pepper, a handful of things. I eat a lot of meat and eggs. Very rarely do I even take a protein shake.
If you don't need it, you know, take a step back and, you know, think about it this way. Beyond the sexy marketing.
Yeah.
What is it?
Right.
It's a supplement.
Yeah.
We're supplementing something that we're not consuming, right?
Yeah.
So it is not a PED. It's not an enhancer. I mean, I can make an argument for creatine being an enhancer, but it's a supplement, right? So, and I find the people that want to come in and drop the 350, they often leave kind of disgruntled because they wanted to throw money at me.
Sure.
And I'm very reluctant to do that because I want them to shop with us for the rest of their journey, first of all. And second of all, I think they're seeking that for one dopamine hit from spending money.
Right. They I got the thing.
Yeah, it feels good to buy something, right? Yeah. And they have convinced themselves, well, this is what I need to do to get started. No, you don't need to go and buy pills to get started. You need to get started.
That's exactly right. That's so true.
So it's more that for me. And like I said, yeah, we've lost, you know, a good few customers that way on their first visit because I'm like really not hounding them. I'm not rude, but I'm trying to encourage them like, hey, man, you might not need that. Right. You know, like please come back in a few days. Show me what you've written down, put in your body. Then we'll start plugging the holes with supplements. But
I hear the same thing, like I was saying in business coaching and consulting. People think that they need to plan their way into it. And it's like, go do it. Yeah. Take some action. Go do the thing.
Well, I love what you've said on this cast before, you know, and we talked about it. Pick, you know, where you want to be.
Right.
Long term, right? There's not much plan that goes into that vision. Just create it, right, and then work backwards from it.
Sure, it's just kind of a math problem.
Yeah,
you know,
it really is.
Even physically, like, you know, I have a vision of what I want to look like physically.
Yeah.
When I'm 50 years old, and so you know, when it comes down to my daily choices, I go, okay, is this adding to or taking away? Now, sometimes I make bad choices and it's taken away.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to get myself back together and again reflect and pay attention to it. Go, okay, is that really adding to who I want to become or not? It's not super freaking complicated.
Are the actions I'm taking congruent with that goal I set for myself? And that's the book you recommended to me.
Yeah.
I was listening to it on the way here. Very
10X.
similar. Yeah.
It's easier than 2X.
Yeah. You know, you take that, the 20% of the work you put in that produces the 80% of the results.
Yes.
Same thing with nutrition, same thing with business. I mean, there's a lot of correlations
between
the two.
So I use that a lot, like the physical reference when I'm talking to people about business or even when I'm doing coaching, because people get it because that's something you can see. You know, a lot of times people may not understand the business concepts, but they understand, okay, if you want a six pack and you're eating, you know, 4,000 calories of junk food a day and you're not doing any work in the gym at all whatsoever, the math don't math.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And again, that's the way I always look at things. Like life is just a math problem, even exercise. And for the most part, yes, there's macronutrients and you can get complicated, but for simplistic purposes, there's either a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit.
No doubt.
Right?
Like, I don't even have people track macros.
Yeah. I think that's really, and a lot of people, again, they do that because they want to plan.
Yeah.
They're like,
paralysis by analysis too. I mean, everybody wants all of the fine details worked out, but I think that's their way of procrastinating.
It is a way of procrastinating because I know people that do that. They plan their ways so much. They plan every little detail. They plan the meals. They track their macros. They weigh the things. But what happens is it's so short-lived, right? They're like, I'm going to do this for, you know, the rest of my life. And it takes so much time and energy instead of going, hey, am I on a calorie deficit or am I on a calorie surplus? What's the math behind that look like? Because that's not real complicated.
Yeah.
And so they spend so much time doing that and weighing their food and tracking the things. Unless you're trying to be a pro bodybuilder, that really is not relevant.
Yeah. And why start with all of these things at once? You know, like we see it every year around January, February with the resolution. You know, we usually get the back end of it. The gyms get a huge bump every year in January. Then February, they get sick of not seeing the results. So then they find their way into a supplement store.
Right.
But they start these extreme diets. You know, it's like, all right, this year I'm going to do this. And then they go keto or carnivore or intermittent fasting. Whatever the tool is, it's too extreme to sustain.
Yes.
So pick a goal and start with one factor that's going to get you there.
Yeah.
If it's tracking your calories, good. If you sustain that for 2 months, let's talk about maybe monitoring your protein a little bit.
Right.
And then we go from there.
Getting a good understanding on some of the macros.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing. You know, we're talking about the application of fitness versus business, and it's the same thing. So many people, they're like, man, I'm going to go build $1 billion business. I'm like, well, let's just back it down a little bit to reasonable. And I hear that too. Like when I coach people, we talk about mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial boxes, right? Mm-hmm. And I hear that all the time with guys. They're like, I'm never eating a donut again. I'm like, listen, that's probably just not true, right? Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. You want to go to the extreme, or they're like, I'm going to run, 3 miles. I forget who it is. Runs a few miles a day, like every day for his whole. Not David Goggins, but there's another guy that runs every day. And so I'm like, listen, you don't need to tell me that, or even try to commit to running 3 miles a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
When you haven't run a mile in 10 years.
Exactly.
It's just not going to work out. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing in your business practices. Like, pay attention to a few small things and then do them long enough. Another thing, too, is a lot of people, they quit too soon, right? Yeah. So they get this idea and they're going to go do it and they're going to execute it and they're going to do this thing, whether it's, physical or in the gym or taking supplements or even in business. And they do it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they're like, it doesn't work.
Right. Or they go. Like I'll use myself as an example. You grow, then you hit a hard place. You hit a sticking point that you've not experienced before, right? And at that point, people either, especially in business, I've noticed with myself, I get shiny objects.
Sure.
I pivot.
Entrepreneurs are good at that. Yeah. We're like, ooh.
Yeah. It's like, all right, well, hey, I opened the second store. It is losing money right now. Yeah. It is hurting me. It's hard. I don't know what to do. Well, I'm a damn good graphic designer. I print shirts.
I'll go make shirts.
Let's go sign 50 different companies' contracts and make their shirts for them.
Yeah.
Well, that's taking me away from what I was working on.
Right.
So.
Well, and at the heart, really, entrepreneurs really are creators, right? So I have found that to be true. Like, we love to create, and that's what that shiny object syndrome is related to. Instead of solving problems or staying the course or even maintaining what we've built, we're like, I'll go build another. Oh, that one's not working. I'm not going to fix it. I could build another one.
Right.
And so we do that. But instead of getting strategic or tactical about navigating the problems, whether it's in our physical life or personal life or business life, we tend to want to throw them away or bury them and go to that shiny object and build a new one.
It's exciting too.
It can be exciting.
It's very exciting to have the ambition, and to create something new and seeing the look on people's faces, whatever it may be. Yeah. I found myself in, 4 different realms of business within my one, just because I'm going to jump over here.
Well, how fun is it to create new marketing content?
I love it.
A new logo, a new Facebook page, a new Instagram, some new T-shirts, some new hats, to tell some people about it. It's really funny because a lot of the really high-performing people in business, they talk about, even like Alex Hormozy, right? He talks about it's the small, simple, mundane tasks that make a difference in our lives every day.
Yep.
And actually, if you think about that in a physical sense too, it's the same thing. It's not about running 10 miles a day. It's not about bench pressing 500 pounds at every week or every point in our lives, or doing 100 bench presses or those things. It's really just about taking small steps. Like if you take a 30-minute walk every day and you're in a calorie deficit, that's going to be a good thing for your body.
Exactly. Exactly. It's compounding.
It's not sexy. It's not like I bought $300 worth of supplements. It's not I'm getting my pro card. It's none of that, right? Because those are the things. That's the excitement piece.
And that's what I mean. Like a lot of dudes, especially like our followers or our customers, they want to work out with me.
Sure.
And I always tell them, dude, you don't want to work out with me. You'd hate it. It'd be boring.
Right.
I don't have a secret to teach you.
Right.
You're going to see me do 3 exercises, incline bench, flat bench, and then dumbbells.
Yeah.
For 4 to 6 sets each, and then go home.
That's it.
Because it's not about anything innovative or fancy. It's about the compounding of just doing it over and over and over.
That's so true, and it's keeping it simple too. So, and honestly, talking about like the old school bodybuilders, I enjoy an old school bodybuilding split.
Yeah,
so I do 4 exercises, 4 sets.
Yeah,
I train chest, I train back, I tie arms together.
Yeah,
I train legs on their own, and I train shoulders on their own.
I love it.
It doesn't take that long. It's not super sexy, but I find that interesting too in this culture, the gym culture, especially with like the internet. Everybody's looking for that cool, hip, new, fun, exciting workout. And if you listen to people like even Ronnie, even though, you know, he's in poor shape, but if you listen to even like Lee Haney or Jay Cutler, or even like Stan and those guys, the people that have been at this and are jacked for their, you know, they're in their 50s or 60s or in good health in their 70s. If you listen to these guys, and even Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about like the simple basics, right? Flat bench. Okay, cool. Incline bench. How do you do it? You made a video the other day talking about how you know, bring your grip in, you know, and extend on the upside, right?
Yeah.
One of the things too, I think people miss a lot of in the gym is technique.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to do the gym bro lift and they're putting on way too much weight. I see it a lot of times with dumbbells. You know, people doing dumbbells or even curls. And I'm like, you know, if you would cut that weight in half and do it in a different way, you would maximize the leverage on your biceps.
Get better contraction.
Yeah, you get better contraction or better stretch. So let's talk about that for a minute. Lifting weights, right? So what is it actually about? A lot of people, and I just want to encourage people, if you don't know what you're doing, ask somebody for help. Whether it's in supplements or physical stuff or business stuff. It always shocks me. Like if you were going to go to the Olympics, you would go find a coach.
No
right?
doubt.
You'd go find a coach.
Right.
But a lot of times we never seek consultation in other areas of our life. Right. We're like, man, I'm gonna lose 300 pounds. Well, who's going to help you do that? Because that's like an Olympic sport at this point, right? Or you want to go be a power lifter. Great. You want to bench 400 or 500 pounds. That's awesome. But, you know, you watching TikTok videos and learning how to do that is dangerous.
Yeah.
And bad for your health. And you're probably not going to do it right. Probably going to end up hurt. Go ask somebody for help. And more often than not, what I've found too, because I've done that. I've found mentors and I've been like, hey, I need some help.
Yeah.
In business. And you know what they say? When can we get on the call?
Yeah.
And they're like, bring a notepad.
Exactly.
You know? So I found that to be true. Well, let's break that down. A lot of people, it's not about how much you can lift. It's really more about how you lift it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, for sure. And I guess it depends on your goal.
Sure.
You know, do you want a power lift?
Right.
Do you want a stronger bench or do you want a bigger chest? You know, like what is the goal? And then progressing in some way, shape, or form over time to get to that outcome. You know, so.
And that's a really good point too, talking about where do you want to go. Most people aren't looking to get into the powerlifting space. That's a definitely a different type of training, preparation, stretching, and lifting.
Yeah.
But for general, like people that want to build bigger muscles and they want to get bigger chest, bigger quads, bigger biceps, that kind of stuff, they want to look more physically aesthetic, right? What type of lifting do you think makes more sense for that? Or like, you know, shapes and forms and as far as like rep ranges and that kind of stuff, is it a higher volume, lower weight, or what do you think?
So based on what we know, it's not about the workout. It's about the mesocycle, right? The longer period of progression.
Okay.
So all of these optimal bros that we see on the internet wanting to find what's optimal, what's the best exercise or the rep range or range of motion. It's not really that. It is picking a few compound or a few exercises that are for each muscle group. And over the course of 3 to 4 months, making sure that you are increasing volume and adapting to that volume over time. Let's just take a chest workout, right? We'll just say bench press. You're doing 3 sets of 10 this week on bench with 225. Next week, your goal should be to do one of 3 things. 4 sets of 10 with 225, 3 sets of 11 with 225, or 3 sets of 10 with 230. Right? There's 3 variables of volume increase. Yeah. That's what's going to determine muscle gain over time. So it's not about you getting the best stretch or the most controlled eccentric. It is about doing the same boring shit over and over and over and over and slowly changing the variables.
And adding just a little more.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. You know, I have 4 favorite words: simple, clear, effective, and efficient. So same thing in your marriage or in your business. You want to get more effective with your time. Like I have some mentors and they've done $1 million a day in business. And I'm like, how does that even make sense from a time perspective?
Yeah.
Because we all live on the same planet.
Yeah.
Same thing what you're saying in working out and building muscle over any period of time is it's about becoming more effective at it by continuing to do the small things and adding a little bit more pressure in some fashion and then learning to deal with it. Right?
Exactly.
So that's really cool. So if you're listening to this, make sure that you take significant note of that because there's so much, you know, just BS information on the internet and Instagram and TikTok about these fad workouts and these fad diets and all that kind of stuff. And even the fad diets, like when you talk about keto or carnivore, they're still really just a calorie deficit.
Yeah, that's all it is. They all are manipulating your intake.
Yeah, and we're cutting out bad food. Yeah. Like if you're like, I'm going to go carnivore, well, you know what? You're not eating cake anymore. You're not eating donuts. You're not going to McDonald's.
Exactly.
It is kind of a branded diet. Yeah. But at the end of the day.
But why does it work? You're eating meat.
Yeah.
you can't tell me that meat does not fill you up more than the McDonald's burger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's satiating, so you end up eating less without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Same with intermittent fasting. You were taking
Yes.
everything you would eat in a 16-hour window and condensing it to 8.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to eat a surplus in that 8-hour window, but that's why it works.
That's exactly right. And
You
the
know?
simplicity behind it, what you just said, talking about why it works, not necessarily what it's called. Intermittent fasting is another one. It is a real thing, but it's still just a condensed timeline for when you consume your food and then a calorie deficit.
Yep, that's it. And all these health benefits that are, promoted from these diets, like, fasting promotes autophagy or prevention of cell death or, improving your growth hormone. That's not from the fasting. It's from getting yourself into a caloric deficit,
Right.
and probably improving your sleep quality. Like it's really not that diet structure.
That's exactly
You know?
Yeah.
And the same thing with working out, to kind of go back to that. I hate when people tell me that they're doing this new workout.
Right.
Right? I don't hate it, but if you're reading a muscle magazine or if you're getting a workout off of TikTok, there's no plan in place to get you to point B. Right? You're just doing a workout today. Like, what's the progression scheme?
Right.
I'd rather somebody come to me with the most boring thing ever and it be a program for 12 weeks.
Sure.
Because then we have a desired outcome.
Yeah.
If you're just going and doing whatever, Jimmy influencer's doing, well, that's great today. What's your plan moving forward?
Right.
You're
What's
just
the
trying
rest
something
of that
new every
look like?
week.
And I think you made a couple of good points there. So a lot of people, they soak up this information about these diets or these lifestyles and all the health benefits that delivers, and it's really a confusion. It's a marketing thing
good,
by a lot of people and influencers, where it's how it works, not necessarily which one it is.
Yep.
You're cutting out all the bad carbs, all the processed food, all the seed oils, all those kind of things, and you start doing that, and then you tie in some good physical exercise with that. It's going to be good for your body. It's going to be good for your hormones. Another thing you talked about there, talking about like a workout scheme, like for a certain period of time. And a lot of people, they do that. They're I'm working out this way this week. I'm working out this way this week. I'm working out this way this week. And same thing in business, which is just really funny to me about just the correlation of it. It's like, you got to do this for 90 days.
Yeah.
Like, to see if it's going to turn revenue.
Right.
Like, people do it for 2 weeks. They do it for a month. It's like, it doesn't work. No, it's not that it doesn't work. You haven't done it long enough. Or
Exactly.
you're putting in the grind and whatever it is, but there's still something off in the math problem.
Right.
So you could be doing these things and dialing it in the gym and, the diet, the exercise, supplementation, all that stuff, sleep, which is a huge part of life and health and wellness.
Right.
But if you're not getting the results, then it's always good to have a mentor in your corner to be like, hey, man, it's not producing the fruit you set out to produce, so there's got to be something off in the math.
Yep.
Right?
Has your focus strayed?
Yeah. Tell me the truth. Yeah.
So
That's
be
good
it for now.
That's good.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
I
This is
appreciate
awesome.
having you on, Jacob. Hit him up, the nutrition store, Spartanburg and Greenville.
And online.
I was going to say TikTok, Facebook.
Instagram, TikTok are where we're most popular.
Okay.
Facebook, you can find me, you can message me. Working on building that too, but we're also redeveloping our website right now. So
what is your Instagram?
At the Nutrition Store LLC.
And the TikTok?
At the Nutrition Store.
And I want to give him a shout out because the content it's great. Like, he
Thanks,
makes
man.
great content.
Thank
His
you.
videos, even the one you posted the other day in downtown Greenville asking the older,
yeah.
just stuff like that. This guy's an out of the box thinker. He's great. He's a creative.
I appreciate
person.
it, man.
So
I
that's fun to
appreciate
watch.
that.
All else fails, you'll be well entertained.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So thanks for having you. Thanks for being on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, bro.
It's a blast.
So give a follow-up shout out to our sponsor, the Acquisition CEO. If you are curious about buying or selling a business, hit him up in the link below or hit me up. Happy to connect you. He loves helping people with business acquisitions. And as I always say, let's go do some winning.
Let's do it.
See ya.